everyone. Chapter 2 is about research process. So for you to get information that you need to drive key business decisions and answer burning questions, you will be needing a research methodology that works. And this all starts with research design. But what it is? In our ultimate guide to research design for businesses, we will break down the process including research methods, examples, and best practice to help you get started. So what is research design? Research design is an overall strategy or research methodology used to carry out a study. It defines the framework and plan to tackle established problems and questions through the collection, interpretation, analysis, and discussion of data. So while there are many or several types of research design, the research problem defines should be used, not the other way around. In working this way, researchers can be certain that their methods match their aims and that they are capturing useful and actionable data. So for example, in real life situation, you might want to know why sales are falling for a specific product. You already have your context and other research questions to help uncover further insights. So you will be starting with your research problem, or in this class, we will call it problem statement, and then you will get to choose an approach to get information that you will be needed. So key consideration before starting a research project is that after you have your research problem and research questions to find out more information, you should always consider these for the following elements. So number one, do you want to use a qualitative or quantitative approach? Okay, so what type of research would you like to do? Would you like to create a survey? Would you like to conduct telephone interviews? How will you choose your population and sample size fairly to represent all categories? How will you choose a method to collect the data for ease of operation? So these research tools that you will be using will determine the validity of your study. And then, how will you analyze those data after collection to help the business concerned? How will you ensure that your research is free from bias and neutral? And in what setting will you conduct your research study? Are there any challenges or any objections to conduct your research? And if so, how can you address them? So ultimately, the data received should be unambiguous so that the analyst can find accurate and trustworthy insights to act upon. Okay, so you must remember that neutrality is the key here. All right, so by finding the research design method that work for you is very crucial. No matter what information you want to find out, there is always a research design method that's right for you. Okay, however, it is up for you to actually determine which of the methods above are the most viable and can deliver the insight that you need. Remember, each research method has their own advantages and disadvantages. It is also important to bear in mind that these key considerations should be decided already before the start of your research project. All right. Okay, so these again are 9 of the questions that you should bear in mind before you start your research project, as I mentioned before in the previous slides. All right, so these are the framework. These are the guidelines for you to actually choose which type of experiment, which type of descriptive analysis that would you like to focus on in going through your research. All right, so stages in research process is already been discussed in chapter 1 before. This is just a reminder that in order for you to get the information that you need to drive key business decision and answer burning questions, you need a research methodology that works. And it all started with research design. But what it is actually about? Okay, so again, please remember these 8 steps of research projects or research process, which starts with identifying the research problem and ends with communicating your research. All right. So now let us do some activity together. So the research process starts with identifying a research problem and then conducting a literature review to understand the context. Okay, the researcher sets research questions, objective and hypothesis based on the research problem. Okay, a research study design is formed to select a sample size and collect data after processing and analyzing the collected data, and then the research findings are presented in the research reports. All right. So a research process can be compared with a route map. Okay, so the map analogy is useful for the researcher because several alternatives exist at each stage of the research process. So before explaining the stages of the research process, we must explain the term iterative, okay, appearing within the oval shape diagram just now at the center of the schematic diagram. So the key to successful research project ultimately lies in iteration, where is this process of returning again and again and again to the identification of the research problems, methodology, data collection. All this leads to new ideas, revisions, and improvement. So by discussing the research project with advisors and peers, one will often find that new research questions need to be added, variables to be omitted, added or redefined, and other changes to be made. So as a proposed study is examined and re-examined from different perspectives in the process of iteration, it may begin to transform and take a different shape. Okay, before we end our chapter 2, okay, what is the primary purpose of the research process? Okay, good. So the research process aims to identify a research problem, understand its context through a literature review, set research questions and objectives, design a research study, select a sample, collect data, analyze data, and then you present the finding in research report. Okay, second question. Why is the research design important in the research process? The research design is the blueprint for fulfilling objective and answering research questions. It specifies the methods and procedures for collecting, processing, and analyzing data, ensuring that the study is structured and systematic. Okay, that is all for today's chapter. Please refer to notes provided in the next page and answer the question that follows. Thank you very much. See you in the next chapter.